Hello folks, I'm Dean with Dean's Woodworking. Welcome to the shop. Y'all come on in and make yourself comfortable. Today we're not going to do any wood turning. Well, we may do just a little bit, but what I'm going to do tonight is we're going to make a jig. This is a device that is going to allow us to see the actual depth of a bowl. I'll show you how it works here real quick. Okay folks, with this particular jig, you have two parts. You have the part that goes on the bed of the lathe. That would be this right here. You put that on, you slide this up, and when that is touching that, you have no space, no crack right here. So when you see you've got no crack here, you know this is against the front of your chuck. As you move it out, whatever crack you see here, that's the thickness of the bottom of your bowl. So let's go ahead and get started, and I'll show you exactly how I made this, okay? So I'm going to give you folks measurements as we go. This piece here goes across the bedways. It's going to lay right through here. We're going to have a bolt that goes down through the middle of that. We're going to have a piece on the bottom that will snug up against it. Okay folks, so this piece that goes across here will look very similar to this one here when it's finished. It's basically three pieces of wood. You got the one on top, you've got the next one down here, which just glues to the bottom of this, keeps it from moving back and forth, okay? And then you've got the bottom piece that goes up underneath and locks that in place. So the first thing we need to do is we need to kind of get this centered and this in here, and we need to connect that. So the way we're going to go about that is we're going to take this little piece here. We're going to put just a little bit of wood glue on here. Doesn't take a whole lot. We're going to come up in here, put it right in here. We're just going to put it right up against that. We're going to slide that up against here so we've got it squared up. Once we've got it in place, and it helps to have three hands to do this with, we can put a little clamp on it. Then again, you want to move all this up. You want to make sure that you're centered up. So now we have it squared up, we have it clamped where we want it. We're going to give that some time to dry. This little piece here is a little bit wider. That way it can go up underneath the ways of your lathe. And on this, the threads on this are 1/4 20. So I needed a 1/4 20 nut that can thread down into. All I did was take and drill a hole slightly smaller than that 1/4 20 nut and then press that in there. You can use, if you've got a little arbor press, that works. If you've got wood clamps, that works. If you don't have any of that, you can just tap it in with a hammer. It's really not a big deal. You might want to consider gluing these with maybe an epoxy. I never have. Okay? We're going to leave that set, and after a bit I will come back and I will drill a hole right through the middle of this, and that will allow this to go down through the middle of that and connect right into there, and that's what we'll use to tighten that up with. So we'll set this to the side for a moment. By the way, this is for my lathe, but the way I got the measurement was come right across there, 7.5 inches, 7.5 inches. The way I got the measurement on this, measure it in there, it's about 1 5/8, gives it just a little room to move back and forth. This one, remember, it's 1 5/8 between here, So I made that 2 1/4. Again, just enough to overlap a little bit on each side. We'll put all that to the side for a moment. Now what we're going to do is this piece right here. We've got a piece of plywood that fits in there. The thickness of this one is not so important because it's not going to be, you're not going to tighten it down. So as long as it sets in there, you're fine. Okay folks, so what we'll do is we'll roughly line this up. Take one of these little small F-style clamps. Put just a little bit on it. I mean, you know, you want to still be able to move it around here. Okay, we're going to set that in there. As you can see, that's a little bit further over this way, so we'll just tap it over a little bit. We're going to move this back and forth side to side just a little bit. Give that just a little bit more pressure. That way we can pull it out of there and we can mark our lines. So once we've got it in place, you can come in with a scale and double check that. It's about 1 3/4 there. Oh, we're off just a little bit there. We'll make that about 1 1/2. Okay, so we're pretty even on that side. Let's double check right there. And we may be just a tad off here. And folks, it really doesn't matter how close to exact center this is. Okay, we're pretty much exactly centered on that end. And now we're exactly centered on that end. Okay, folks, with this centered up, now I'm just going to come in with the nailer. By the time we pop those 3 nails in there, that thing's probably there to stay. But we'll take the clamp off and go ahead and give it one more. Okay, so with this nailed down, we're going to come in with this piece and we're going to mount it right here like so. There's a number of ways to mount that and put it in there. Okay folks, so for this project we're going to use pocket holes. Again, we're not going to get real technical, but I'm thinking that's probably lined up close enough. Okay, the simple portion of this, folks, is we're just going to screw this down. Now, the difficult part is we need to make sure it's square. The reason being that we need to make sure this is square is if this is pointing off at an angle, it's not going to hit the middle of your bowl. So you want to make sure it's in there, it's lined up, and it's square. So what we've done here is we found center. We came in so that our square was setting straight. We lined the center of the plywood up with that center mark there, and then came in and just made sure it was square. Once we did that, we came in and put ourselves a mark on either side of it, just so we know we're staying square. And then we're going to take and we're going to drive that screw right on down in there. Okay, so with those 2 pocket hole screws in there, that's going to hold that. What I'm going to do now, folks, is we're going to come up here, we're going to line this thing up so we see exactly where it's going to sit, line it up with the back, and we're just going to make a mark down the side across the bottom. And why are we going to do that? Because we're going to come in here and we're going to drill ourselves a couple of pilot holes. Once that's done, we're ready to attach this piece. And I said no turning in this video, right? Well, I think I'm going to change my mind. You know, it just doesn't seem like for a bowl and for a wood turner, that should be square. Let's see what we can do about that. Okay, we have this top piece in the chuck. Okay, so what we're doing is we're going to go ahead and taper this down to where it's round on the end. Give us a little more speed there, make that a little more comfortable. Let's bring this back just a little bit, and we'll take just the toe of that skew and take care of just that end there. That'll just make that just a little bit fancier. Okay, we have our drill here. We're going to go ahead and start these screws. That way we're not fumbling with them. Okay, with this, you want to line this up on the back of this. Make sure both sides are lined up. And then let's go ahead and put one screw in there. And with this in there, it goes right into pretty close to the center of that chuck. So we'll go ahead and drop this one in there. So this portion is done. The good news is that glue had set long enough for us to drill a 5/16 hole right through the middle of that. Okay, now what we're going to do, we're going to take and put this on this side. I'm going to run this all the way through so that this is setting like so. Okay, one of the things that you need to watch for is this middle piece in here cannot stick below the bottom of your ways. Different lathes, they're different thicknesses, so you need to take a look at that and know how thick you need to be. All right, so we're going to drop this down here like so. Let's clean this off, get all the sawdust off here so that doesn't affect us. I'm going to drop this in here like so. Okay, so this bolt is just a little bit short. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go over and I'm going to drill out just a fraction on top that will let this portion of this bolt recess just a little bit, okay? That will make all the difference in the world right there. So that's another thing. Just make sure that whatever bolt you're using and whatever thickness of wood you're using will make the trip and go all the way through. Okay, so how does this thing work? Well, okay, so let's set it up for this particular chuck right here. What we'll do is we'll take this little thin scale, we'll push that right up there. We're going to bring this back. I don't know if you can see that below the chuck, but this front piece right here, see this piece right here? We're going to bring it right up against that, and we're just going to tighten that down. Okay, so it's in place there, and with that there, we push that up. Now we need to go back a little further. So that's the beauty of this. You just move it back. We're right against that. Okay, now we know when we push up against that, You want to make sure you don't have shavings in there. When you push up against that, you're right even with the front of that chuck. So there is no bottom left in your bowl when it gets up against this. Okay, so let's put a bowl in here that's been cut in half, and we'll just demonstrate exactly what I'm talking about. By the way, if you've never cut one of your bowls in half, turn one and cut it in half. It's a heck of a learning experience. This just happens to be one that I did when I was demoing recesses versus tenons on chucks. Okay, so you see our pointer is up against the center of the bowl. Look at how thick the bottom of that bowl is. However wide that gap is, that's how thick the bottom of your bowl is. We'll take this one out. We'll put this one in. Look what happens to the gap. See how thick it is there? There's your tip hitting right against the bottom of the bowl. There's your gap, showing you exactly how thick the bottom of that bowl is. Folks, if you enjoyed this, go ahead and go down and hit the like and subscribe. I hope this is helpful to you. I hope each one of you go out and make you one. Because I'll tell you what, there's nothing more frustrating than having a fine piece of wood and all of a sudden you see light through the bottom of it. With this, if you have any hesitancy, you're not holding something up trying to figure out if it works. It works. You can see it. You can see the gap. You know exactly how thick the bottom of the bowl is. Never again do you have to turn a funnel. Just say no to funnels. Folks, thank you for watching. Stay safe, stay healthy, and happy turning.